What would you do if you were a military veteran trying to escape your past, flying alone over the Atlantic Ocean when your dog suddenly refused to calm down, staring frantically at something floating far below? That's exactly what happened to Daniel Brooks, a former Navy special warfare operator who had retreated to the Maine coast to find peace. His only companion was Atlas, a German shepherd who always slept through their flights. Until today. Atlas was rigid, whining, pressing his nose hard against the window, staring down at an endless sheet of blue. What Daniel saw next would shatter his carefully built isolation and pull him into a rescue mission that would change everything. This is the incredible true story of how a broken veteran and his loyal dog saved a Coast Guard officer from certain death and discovered that sometimes the greatest healing comes from helping others survive. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments, and if you believe second chances can come from the most unexpected places, hit that like button. You're going to need it for this one. Now, let's begin. The Atlantic in July looked deceptively peaceful, a sheet of hammered glass touched by sun. Daniel Brooks, 45, had the weathered appearance of a man shaped by years outdoors and years before that in places no tourist brochure mentioned. His steel-gray eyes once scanned horizons for enemies, but now skimmed those same horizons because the act itself was the only thing that soothed him. Daniel had served as a Navy special warfare operator, excellent at his job, calm under fire, precise, instinct-driven. But a certain mission had fractured something invisible in him. He had carried the body of his closest friend through dust and gunpowder, and that night carved a canyon inside him that never healed. After discharge, he abandoned cities and retreated to Maine, where the ocean roared loud enough to drown his ghosts. He bought a neglected 1977 Seaplane and rebuilt it piece by piece. His only consistent companion was Atlas, a 6-year-old German shepherd with charcoal black and steel gray coat, adopted from a retired police canine handler. They flew 3 days a week, always the same route, always the same silence. Inside the violence of engine sound, the ghosts lost their voices. It was thunder used as therapy. They were mid-flight when Atlas moved, not his usual shift, but a jolt. The dog's body tensed like a coiled spring, ears snapping forward, pressing both paws against the cockpit window with urgent whines. Daniel frowned. "What?" he muttered. "Birds? A boat?" But Atlas stared at open water, endless water, and wouldn't stop staring. Daniel felt irritation spike. The ritual was not to be broken. He banked the plane slightly, but Atlas whined louder. Through the streaked glass, Daniel saw only waves, then scattered debris, a cooler lid, a broken plank. Then a piece of wood rotated, catching the sun. On top of it, a shape, a person-shaped object in bright orange, an unmistakable life jacket. Daniel's breath caught. A woman, face down, arm dangling, dark hair plastered to her cheek. Not debris, a survivor. Atlas barked once, sharp, final. Daniel felt time tighten. His training rose automatically, calculating wind, distance, fuel. His heart calculated something else entirely, the impossible weight of ignoring a life. He circled lower. Through the glass, he saw more clearly. The woman was maybe mid-30s, sunburned and scratched. The life jacket was faded but intact. The plank she clung to looked like shattered boat siding, splintered viciously, edges blackened as though burned. Daniel's throat tightened. Atlas stared with him. He had left the world once, but the world hadn't left him. His mind whispered, "You don't owe anything." His bones whispered back, "You owe the same thing someone owed you once." Daniel angled the seaplane downward with intent. As Atlas braced his paws, the ritual broke, and the ghosts woke. The plane hit the water with jarring impacts before settling into a rocking lull. Daniel dove, swimming the 20 yards to reach her. The woman was unconscious, sunburned, with a badge clipped to her torn vest. "Monsieur Carter, United States Coast Guard." A Coast Guard officer floating alone in calm seas. Daniel's pulse spiked. This wasn't a tourist accident. He pulled her to the plane, lifted her onto the float with effort. Atlas positioned himself beside her like a protective statue, sniffing once before settling. His restraint was its own verdict of trust. As Daniel secured her in the seat, her eyes flickered open, blue-green, glassies, unfocused. She whispered, voice cracked, "Report back." "You're safe," Daniel said. How long? She managed. Lost night before last. Ship collision. No, not accident. Her breathing shuddered. Boarded us. Armed. Fast. A cold line of realization formed inside Daniel. Armed boarding. A burning plank. A lone survivor. Don't let them find me, she whispered before losing consciousness again. As the plane rose, Megan stirred, explaining through pain how mercenaries had attacked her Coast Guard cutter, stealing classified weapons prototypes. Her crew was captured or killed. She had escaped into the water during an explosion. But as they flew towards safety, Atlas suddenly tensed again, staring at the horizon. Below them, Daniel spotted the partially submerged hull of Megan's ship, Coast Guard markings shredded, scorch marks along the sides, fresh fuel still sheened the water around it. This wasn't random, it was manufactured. They landed at a remote airstrip where they met Henry, a Vietnam veteran who owned the property. His isolated cabin offered temporary safety, but their reprieve was short-lived. Through the windows, they spotted surveillance. Someone was watching. The mercenaries had tracked them down. Led by Morgan Grayson, a dishonorably discharged soldier turned mercenary, they surrounded the cabin. But Daniel, Megan, and Atlas weren't helpless victims. Using Henry's knowledge of old Cold War tunnels beneath the property, they evaded capture and turned the tables. Daniel and Atlas infiltrated the mercenaries' trawler, rescuing Megan's captured crew members. The final confrontation came when Grayson cornered them aboard the ship. But Atlas moved like lightning, not attacking wildly, but with surgical precision, hitting Grayson's knee and sending him crashing to the deck. Daniel restrained him as the cavalry arrived. Coast Guard helicopters thundered overhead. Rescue divers dropped in, led by Jason Pierce, who secured the prisoners and lifted the survivors to safety. As Megan was hoisted toward the helicopter, she took Daniel's hand, not as a damsel thanking her savior, but as a soldier acknowledging another soldier. I'll put in a commendation for the four-legged officer who saw what the rest of us missed, she said, ruffling Atlas's fur. Later, flying home in their seaplane, Atlas curled beside Daniel, finally at peace. The ocean stretched forever below them, but loneliness did not. The same water that nearly swallowed Megan had brought her into Daniel's line of sight. The same sky that once felt like exile now carried him home. Sometimes miracles don't arrive with thunder from the sky. They drift quietly across the waves, noticed only by the eyes that still know how to care. Daniel's dog Atlas saw what human eyes missed, and together they proved that even the most broken among us can still be heroes. If this story moved your heart, smash that like button and subscribe to Fur and Feather Tales for more incredible rescue stories. Drop A for Daniel's courage, A for Atlas's sharp instincts, and A if you believe in second chances. Which part gave you chills? Let me know in the comments below. Your support helps us share these amazing stories of hope and healing. Thank you for being part of our Fur and Feather Tales family.